The sound of the ocean always reminded me of beginnings, fresh starts. Endless possibilities, but that morning, as I stood on the balcony of my beachside hotel, the waves sounded more like endings. Cold, heavy, final. My name is Margaret Williams, and at 68, I thought I had already faced every heartbreak life could offer. I lost my husband 10 years ago, and raising my son, Ethan, alone had been my proudest journey. But nothing, not even widowhood, prepared me for the day my only child would look me in the eyes and tell me I was a burden. Ethan arrived that weekend with his wife, Chloe. They were both dressed like they were attending a magazine photo shoot, designer sunglasses, matching luggage, and that confident glow of people who think they've made it in life. I smiled as they entered the hotel lobby. Chloe's perfume reached me before her greeting did. "Mother," she said, air-kissing my cheek. "It's cute that you still run this place. I mean, for your age." I pretended to laugh. "For my age." It wasn't the first time she'd said something like that. Ethan didn't notice. Or maybe he didn't want to. He wrapped me in a quick hug and glanced around the lobby. "You've done well." "Mom, this place still looks great," he said. Then, under his breath, though it could use some modern touch, that evening, we sat for dinner at the Ocean View restaurant, the one I'd built with my husband's life insurance. Money. Every detail, from the flickering lanterns to the smell of salt and grilled lobster, carried pieces of my life. But Chloe wasn't. Impressed, she pushed her plate away after 2 bites. "Ethan, next time we should stay somewhere fancier. You know, something with a bit more class." "This place feels so old school." I looked at her carefully. "This place, Chloe, is my home. And your husband's childhood," she smirked. "Exactly." Ethan chuckled nervously, sipping his wine. He didn't defend me. That was the moment I realized the distance between us wasn't physical anymore. It was emotional and growing. The next morning, I overheard them talking in the lounge. They didn't know I was behind the curtain. "Ethan," Chloe whispered sharply, "your mum needs to move into one of those assisted living places. It's not safe for her to be running a business. What if she falls? What if she—" "She's fine, Chloe," he muttered. "No, she's not. Look at this hotel, it's outdated. If you take control now, you could sell it and finally invest in something real. We can't keep babysitting her dreams." My heart cracked. They weren't just planning my future, they were erasing me from it. Later that afternoon, Ethan came to see me. He stood awkwardly by the door of my office, the same office where I'd helped him with his first school project, where we celebrated his college acceptance letter. "Mum," he began, "I've been thinking, maybe it's time you—" "Slow down. You've worked your whole life. Why not move to a retirement home in Florida or something? You deserve to rest." I looked up from my desk. "And what about the hotel?" He hesitated. "Chloe and I can handle it. We'll modernize it, make it appealing to younger guests. You'll still get a share, of course, but—" I stood up, cutting him off. "But it won't be mine anymore." He sighed. "Mom, it's not personal, it's just business. Just business." The words echoed in my chest like an empty hallway. I built this place from nothing, worked double shifts, cleaned rooms myself, swept floors at midnight when we couldn't afford janitors. And now, my son was telling me it was just business. That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked through the quiet hallways of my hotel, my home, touching the walls that held decades of memories. The photo of my late husband still hung behind the front desk. His kind eyes seemed to ask me, "Are you really going to let them take this from you?" No, I wasn't. The next morning I made my decision. If they wanted to play business, I'd remind them who the real owner was, but I wouldn't shout, I wouldn't fight. I'd show them, with calm, undeniable proof. 2 days later, I invited Ethan and Chloe to the hotel's management meeting. They looked surprised. "Mum, a meeting? With who?" "With everyone," I said. "Staff, investors, my attorney." It's time we discuss the hotel's future. Chloe grinned, whispering to Ethan, "She's finally coming to her senses." I smiled too, but for a different reason. When everyone gathered in the conference hall, I stood before them in my navy blue dress, the same one I wore on the hotel's grand opening 20 years ago. I spoke softly, but every word carried the strength of years of sacrifice. "This hotel," I began, "was built not just with money but with love. With memories. With promises." Ethan shifted in his chair. Impatient, Chloe tapped her phone. I continued, "Many of you don't know. I never added this hotel to any family trust. It remains entirely under my name. Every inch, every room, every account." Chloe froze. Ethan blinked. "What are you saying, Mom?" I looked straight at him. "I'm saying you can't take away what isn't yours." The room went silent. Then, slowly, I turned to the staff. These walls have heard laughter and tears. They've seen families grow and fall apart, but they've also seen loyalty, and I value that above all else. I handed a folder to my attorney. He opened it and read aloud. "Effective immediately. Margaret Williams will transfer partial ownership of the hotel to its senior staff members as a gratitude for their decades of service." Gasps filled the room. Ethan stood up. "What? You can't do that. This hotel is our family legacy." I smiled gently. "No, Ethan, it was mine. You forgot that long ago." Chloe grabbed his arm. "Let's go." "Ethan, she's lost it." I looked at her, calm, collected, unwavering. "No." "Chloe, I finally found myself again." As they stormed out, I turned back to my employees, my real family. Applause broke out, and for the first time in years, I felt peace, because I hadn't just kept the hotel, I'd reclaimed my dignity. When the sun set that evening, I stood once more on the balcony. The waves sounded different again, not endings this time, beginnings. And though I'd lost my son, I gained something far greater, respect for the woman I had become. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, where every story reminds you that love, respect, and truth always find their way home.